Perspective on Florida Gateway College Television is sponsored by Nutrien. Nutrien, feeding the future.
Hello everyone and welcome to Perspective. This is a public affairs presentation of Florida Gateway College. My name is Mike McKee and my guests on the program today are going to show us some yoga. We have Virginia Hill and we have Lucy Edson, who are going to take us through some paces on how to do yoga and the benefits of yoga. We'll talk to these young ladies when we come back. Don't go away. You're watching Perspective.
By the time I found out that she was up for adoption, she was dead set on, no, I need to just be realistic about my life and what my future holds.
That's when she came to me and she said, would you be interested in us adopting you? I didn't think that I would have a family again. I didn't think that I would go to college. I didn't think that I would have love. And with that, I just feel like my world is just so much brighter.
Welcome back to Perspective on Florida Gateway College Television. Virginia Hill and Lucy Edson represent Alligator Yoga. Aha, Alligator Yoga. Most people know what yoga is. I know we've got some young people in the studio watching this taping today that may be unaware of yoga, but where does yoga come from?
Well, originally it comes from India, and it came to the West a little over 100 years ago. It hit its debut in America in Chicago at the World's Fair. But it's really become popular about the last 40 or so years, and it's become mainstream really probably about the last 10, mainly because there's a lot more clinical research about its benefits. And also there's been many yoga teachers that have advanced it and made it really accessible for those of us that aren't athletic, and also it helps with a lot of different activities as well.
What is the basis for yoga? I mean, obviously you stretch. It's not something that you do a lot of cardio. I mean, you're not going to be running in place or things like that. What is?
Can.
Okay, well see, there's my misconception was that you just kind of do
but
this.
You're absolutely right in that it does surprise some people in that I say gentle is the new advanced. Now we have a sweaty Betty really tough core challenge course, but ultimately it's to get you to relax, and Lucy's probably heard me say it 1,000 times, but yoga is really more about the mind. So we work the body to strength, to stretch, absolutely, to enhance flexibility, and also to deal with daily aches and pains. But ultimately we're doing it to strengthen the body to therefore calm the mind. So probably its number one benefit and lasting benefit is about the nervous system.
Well, we'll talk about that. How does one control your emotion? I mean, I know you mentioned relax, and you know, people always say chill out, and that's the modern word now is to chill out, and maybe that's not even used anymore. But when you say relax, what are you hoping to accomplish?
Well, maybe, perhaps you haven't, but most of us have experienced that sensation of not being able to quiet the mind or just everyday stress. And so when we say relax, it's about calming the nervous system. If you've ever been to bed and your mind is still racing, you can help soothe that nervous system. Or I know we have some school-age folks in the audience here. If you're nervous before a test, you can actually use really simple techniques anywhere, anytime, to calm that mind so you think clearer, so you show up as your best self. Or if you're like me and in the past were a hothead, you can even start controlling some of those emotions, you know, and say more appropriate things in the first thought that you blurt out and that sort of thing. And a lot of our physical ailments, of course, as you probably know, a lot more research is coming out that if we can calm the nervous system and reduce our stress response, that gives the body the time and capacity to heal. And so if we can keep ourselves calmer, we have better emotional reactions, we feel better, we feel happier, but also you help the body heal, and it's also very preventative. So if you can reduce that stress response, you're less likely to get stress-induced inflammation and other ailments, or even just your day-to-day cold.
Well, and again, we have two students from the college who are probably stressing out, and I guess in today's world, physicians just say, well, here's a prescription for Ambien to calm you down, but you thinking maybe that yoga can alleviate the need for such medications?
I'm a big believer in do what works for you. So it's very individualized. I don't suggest using yoga in lieu of medical care.
Right, and we would never recommend that. We would never recommend that.
However, integrative medicine, I get a lot of students coming to me because their physicians have recommended it, because it's a great supplement. And it will also, if you are on medication, because you're inducing what we call the rest and digest response, it will help anything you're doing actually enhance its effects. So if you are taking Ambien, now I have yoga for sleep, which can help enhance sleep, but maybe Ambien's going to work better for you. But if you also do some of these yogic techniques, you can actually enhance whatever other program you're
well, I'm thinking of high blood pressure for some people that you know, they don't particularly care to be on high blood pressure medication. They don't like the idea of taking medication. Would a physician someone under a physician's care maybe use it, like you said, as a supplement to see how it works to control blood pressure?
Absolutely. And the keystone to that for lowering your blood pressure with yoga is really the keystone to everything I teach, and it's all about breathing. And that's really how a yoga, the physical practice, differs from a lot of other forms of exercise. So most good instruction in exercise will have some instruction in breathing, but we specifically work with breathing techniques that soothe the nervous system. And clinical trials have even shown that after one yoga class, so long as it includes training in yogic breathing, you can reduce cortisol, adrenaline, and other stress-related hormones, but you also increase what's called heart rate variability. It's a little counterintuitive, but a healthy heart will actually beat at different rates. And so if you've been through trauma, if you have high blood pressure, if you have illness or sometimes injury, your heart will actually beat more regularly, and we need more variability. So when you start that rest and digest response, I call it belly breathing. It's a lower, slower breath. You're reducing the stress hormones. You're also soothing that nervous system, getting that rest and digest response, and that is what helps lower the blood pressure. And in addition, it's great for heart health, which is related to blood pressure, and that you can enhance that heart rate variability.
Yeah, today's world, you know, we're either on our device, and again, I hate to say this, but even driving with our device and maybe texting while we're driving, and we've got so much stuff going on, we kind of put ourselves in situations of stress just living every day. Is this a way to kind of relearn what we're all about?
Absolutely. I often tease that I teach what we all knew as not only children but infants. So if you've seen an itty-bitty infant breathe and they're almost all belly rising and falling, that's what we're aiming for in our everyday breath. But stress and also sensory input, Mike, like you mentioned, having a screen in front of you constantly is visual stimulation, sound stimulation, and from a yoga perspective, that's going to fill your mind, just like junk food would. Not that it's all bad, but that we can get overstimulated. And so by practicing yoga, you're soothing some of that overstimulation. And also we're seeing it, unfortunately, we're seeing younger and younger yoga students come to us with back issues, pain in the wrist and the hands from the postures that we do using screen devices and when we're in that hyper focus.
I think we're scaring the young people here. No,
make healthy habits now.
It's funny when you got college-age students that you have working in your department, and they're studying for an exam, but they're also looking at a cartoon on their phone, and there's a music going on. It's like so many different things going on at the same time. I wonder how you can pay attention to any one thing, let alone. And you're shaking your head. Lucy, you're a student.
Yes.
And were you skeptical when you came in and said, I'm not really sure this is going to work? This sounds good, but it kind of sounds kooky too.
Well, I came to yoga to find some stress and anxiety relief. That's actually why I came to yoga. And I had worked, just on some like videos online, home things, but coming and having a regular practice has made such a difference for me as far as just overall stress reduction and just health. It's changed, it's been life-changing.
How long have you been doing it?
I started doing yoga, I guess about 15 years ago, but not a regular practice. I've had a regular practice now about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. So.
And you've seen, how was it immediate that you saw the
Honestly,
change?
yes.
Because, you know, you think about it and, you know, again, we're going to show you some techniques, don't worry. And they said I can actually do this without yoga pants on, so I'll probably be demonstrating sitting up straight and breathing well. But you said you saw immediate results?
For me, I remember the first time I felt a connection with my breath and my body, with movement and breath. And that, suddenly my mind slowed down and it stopped being so crazy. Now, did it come back afterwards? Yes, it's a practice. It requires, you know, it's a practice.
Well, and again, it sounds like there's an escape that you go through. And I mean, when you're actually doing it in a group setting like you do at the Alligator, and I think we've got some photographs of your facility that it's conducive to being relaxing. You're down on Lake DeSoto, facing the lake downtown off of Duval Street. And there's the location, but you've got a bunch of windows there. I think that was the blood bank at one time for old timers in Lake City. That was the blood bank. I think it's 3 stories. Yes. And so you use all 3 floors?
We're in the bottom floor.
You're in the bottom floor.
There are residences upstairs and the computer store.
And so there, I mean, there's a relaxing place, and you practice on. We've got carpet here. I hope that's going to be okay for your demonstration.
That's perfectly fine.
But you have you use foam pads.
We use yoga mats, and I actually recommend thinner mats rather than thicker mats.
Okay. And again, this is all part of the routine of yoga. Yeah, it looks very, very nice, and you can see the view you have downtown. And how long have you been open?
We opened at that site October 2018.
Okay.
Alligator Yoga itself.
That to me there is you know, why we live in Florida, and very, very beautiful shot. So when you say you've been doing yoga and you've been practicing it, once you go through the situation where you're downtown and you're getting relaxed, how quick does your life get back to 90 miles, or does it continue on for a length of time?
For me, I think it has long-reaching effects, because once you start connecting to your breath, even in a moment, you can go back to that. It doesn't have to be in yoga. You can take a breath at any moment, in any situation. It can be at work, it can be driving. It doesn't require being in yoga class to have the benefits of connecting to your breath and with yoga.
So when someone cuts you off in traffic, you use your yoga technique, so you're not...
you know, it's a practice, right?
That's true.
We try to remember, but you know, overall, I think whenever we are more relaxed, I think that it's much easier to not respond so instinctively or so quickly. But yeah, I mean, no, I'm just like everybody else. You know, there's no magic going on over here.
Well, before we take a break, you were going to show me, I can do yoga, and you said, let's show the folks at home something that they can do at their desk at work.
Yeah, and in addition to relaxing, because once you get past that part with practice, you're also going to energize. So you relax, and then you can learn to actually upregulate your energy as well. So we're not going to catatonic.
Yeah, because I do have to finish the show.
Yeah, but you'll also get a lot more clarity and enthusiasm. But it does start with the breath.
Well, and again,
so you'll just scooch
you know,
forward.
here we are sitting, and I'm sitting like this, and probably not the best for even living, and where you're gonna.
We want movement, but you don't want to stay in the same posture all the time, which is actually what most of us do. We're working at computers, we're driving, we're in our favorite lazy boy. Nothing's wrong with that. It's just that with repetitive motion, the body, just like the mind, is going to get habits, habituated. And so we can just counter that. I often teach, because I teach a lot of back bends, because we start caving in because of our screens and whatnot. But if we were in a different society using different chairs, there would be different postural things that you're counterbalancing. So yeah, for most of us it's a slouch.
I feel like I need to get this
pull
way.
Forward, yeah.
So I'm sitting upright with my...
Now imagine you had a spot at the top of your head. You're going to lengthen and slightly pull the tummy in. Yeah, now relax those shoulders, let those Fridays, Now I suggest people close their eyes, because we forget how often we have that public face on. And we forget how often we hold tension here. So if you close those eyes, if that's uncomfortable, you can just soften the muscles and look down at the floor. You can also put your hands on your tummy. That will also help. Remember that infant image I gave about people breathing. And just take a big sigh of relief to start. And then you can imagine breathing into that lower tummy. Now, even my weightlifters, I know you mentioned earlier we have a weightlifter who's on the production team, or just to be skinny or to be tall. Unfortunately, we're often taught to suck in the gut. We want the opposite. So I want you to let that belly be big like Santa Claus.
That's everything you've been told not to do.
Best thing you've heard, right? Oh yeah.
Suck it in, don't let it out.
So we want big bellies on the inhale, and then a soft exhale. And that's it. Now in class,
you know, I tell you what, I'm not just telling you this, but I felt a little relaxed just now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really.
And it takes 7 minutes to get what I call the sweet spot. But even if I can get my students or the people I encounter day to day, when you're standing in line at Publix, when you're at the red light, lengthen your spine and take a few deep breaths, and that's life-changing. Because that then becomes a healthy habit.
Hopefully we've changed someone's life there today.
I hope so.
We're going to take a break, and we're going to show some techniques in yoga that maybe you've never seen before or need to be exposed to it. We're going to do that when we come back. Don't go away. You're watching Perspective on FGC TV.
I never graduated from high school. I realized I wanted to go back to school because I didn't want to work these back-breaking jobs the rest of my life. With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed to come back to school. I felt accomplished, made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Back to Perspective on Florida Gateway College Television. We're talking yoga today on the program, and we have representatives of Alligator Yoga. First, I wanted to ask you about Alligator Yoga. Where did Alligator Yoga come from? You're not obviously doing yoga with alligators, although there could be some gators that are doing yoga. How did you come up with the name?
Well, it actually hit me in meditation, which is the goal of all of yoga practice. And it was almost like I was told to name it that, and I thought it was a little quirky, but then I stayed with it. Alligator is the original name, or Alligator Town, of Lake City. So my idea is we're taking what's a global practice and making it really local. In addition, I think it's important to know that I'm from Lake City 7 generations. So again, it makes something that might be a little intimidating, makes it a lot more accessible. And I just love the fact that that's part of Lake City's history. And the full name is Alligator Healing Arts Yoga, so the acronym is AHA. And that you have a lot of aha moments. I think Lucy can attest to that when you're in yoga, because it's a lot about self-introspection as well.
It was a big hair band in the 80s, AHA.
That's right.
Anyway, so you're going to do some demonstration, Virginia. You're going to kind of describe what Lucy's doing here, and this you can do at home. It would be good to get a little training so you're not doing it the wrong way, but show the folks at home exactly some simple yoga moves involving regular chairs that you may have in your home.
Definitely. Great. All right, and I'm going to show a routine that I actually call Easy Yoga. We offer it at my studio, but it's something you can do in your Sunday's best. It's something you can do in a suit or just your everyday clothes. And a lot of these moves you can do, I'm going to show one that we can do even when we're pumping gas at the gas station. So when you're traveling, you can start. So Lucy, if you wouldn't mind joining me. And if you'll just stay facing the camera a little bit this way. Come here so I can, yeah. And first, believe it or not, we mentioned that breathing is where it really starts. So roll the shoulders back, rock that head.
That kind of loosens you up,
yeah,
right?
And just gets you in the body, gets you present. So we live in our brain going 90 miles per hour, like you mentioned. So take one hand above the tummy, one hand below, press the shoulders down, and I want you to take 2 deep breaths as you soften the face. Imagine breathing into the hands. I'd like to add this calming breath is also really great if you're on television. So it automatically calms the nervous system. And just feel any tight spots. So you're getting that body awareness before we even move. That's important for safety. And when you're ready, open the eyes and just swing the arms. I'll move away so she has space. So a lot of what yoga is also teaching us is to keep those joints moving. And then when you're ready, you can make fist, pull the elbows back. Swing and then pull. And now this is one I like to do when I'm traveling or if I've just been sitting at the desk a lot. And you may hear snap, crackle, pop if you haven't been out of the bed long. You just add bending the knees. Now some days it's not coordinated. This is where it's like chewing bubble gum and walking at the same time. And Lucy, you may already be feeling the simple warm up. You're getting into all the major joints, but your breath may already be changing.
Mm-hmm. And this does not look very hard. I mean, I think of folks that are in their 80s that could probably do this and not be impacted.
We'll let Lucy rest. Okay. Yes, absolutely. And I also want to let you know that gentle is actually better. All the clinical trials are about, it's that rest and digest response. We call it the parasympathetic nervous system. So what this does, she's increased her circulation. She's hopefully increased her body awareness. Now I'll move so my string won't hit you. Take your feet wide and Daffy duck them out a little bit. I don't know if you can't see at home, but you always want your toes pointing in the direction of your kneecaps. And I'm going to move out of her way. She's going to swoosh from side to side, picking up the alternate heel. And now when you're at home, you can even let that dead weight of the arms slap the body. This is a great one. Instead of reaching for the latte at 3 p.m., this is an energizing one. And you're also doing a gentle twist for the spine.
Lucy doesn't have a mic on, but I could hear you breathing while you were doing it. So that's important that those breaths. Now, is there a coordination of the breath with the move, or is it just what feels comfortable when you're doing it?
When you're first starting in my beginner's series, just make sure you're breathing. You won't realize till you practice how often throughout the day, even when you're concentrating or listening, you're holding the breath. So first, just make sure it's continuous and you're not pausing between the inhale and exhale. In general, we suggest inhaling up and exhaling down, but there's a lot of exercises where we work with the diaphragm muscle. So we're squeezing in on the exhale, because you have a diaphragm muscle here. So a lot of the exercises we'll teach in yoga are working with that diaphragm muscle because it can be tricky to isolate and strengthen, and that's what we need to have really supple as well as strong to get that deep belly breathing, not just in our yoga practice, but throughout the day when you're driving, shopping.
Now you keep mentioning the digestive tract, and you said that's a key to a lot of what I've always heard, that the root of your emotions rest in your colon. And so that's true, and it's taught through yoga as well, right?
Absolutely. We call that the belly brain. You have what's called down here the vagus nerve, and it's what's going to let us know the lions, tigers, and bears are gone. You want to stimulate that vagus nerve. It helps you with depression. It helps with anxiety, which is actually the #1 reason, that and lower back pain, why people come to yoga.
Well, and you think about butterflies. That's where
butterflies in your stomach, fire in your belly. All cultures have.
We've got some young people here who are going to be doing a speech in a little bit.
Oh, wonderful.
In front of the cameras, and so there may be a little anxiety that maybe they can use yoga to relax before they do. As well as taking a test, right, guys?
Yeah. And in addition to the diaphragm muscle, there's a big muscle, it's the largest muscle group in your body called the psoas. It's a group of muscles, it's a hip flexor. So can I get you to get a block real quick? So this is one I'm having Lucy demonstrate because it's fabulous. You can do it in your Sunday's best. And if you'll stand on it, you can use me as your wall if you need to put your fingers on a wall.
Now this is just a block?
This is a yoga block at home. You can use an encyclopedia, anything steady. What I really recommend is when you're pumping your gas, she's going to swing one leg. Now Lucy's a little tall, so at home you could do it on a stoop. Your front step is great, stairs. And she's going to let that leg just dangle. So there's a muscle here at the front of the hip flexor called the psoas group. It's tight because we sit. It's also tight when we are stressed. It's tight because the position when we drive. But in addition, it's very emotionally responsive. So it's the only other muscle other than the heart that is so emotionally responsive. So by just doing this simple movement of dangling the leg, it's better off of a stair, but you can see I can do it even on the floor. You're getting into that psoas
and
muscle.
if one leg is shorter than the other, it works out good there too as well.
There you go. So if she's, of course, at home, you'd want to do both sides.
You want to do it equal?
Yes. Now there are some ailments, some asymmetries in the body. Sometimes we'll do more on one side than the other. Or if you want to strengthen one side, we do have a dominant side. So sometimes there are some reasons why you wouldn't do it equal. And now, Lucy, if you wouldn't mind putting your hand on your hips, moving our block, thank you. This is another good one for the psoas, but also the spine. She's going to step 1 foot back. Keep the heel up and then press into the toes. So she's already getting it, and now deep belly breathe. Once we get into these postures, they're called asana or yoga poses. Then you want to work with the breath because that's going to help calm the nervous system, but also get into those muscle groups. Now, if you feel steady, ground down to that right foot, let it broaden, and you're going to raise the opposite arm. Now, you might want to stay there, Lucy. If you feel steady, you can also raise both arms, or she can choose to put them in goalposts. So if you have any rotator cuff stuff going on, or if balance is an issue, that's great too. And then we'll often hold poses and work on refinements. I won't worry about that today, but then there's ways to make it more challenging if you want more challenging. Thank you, Lucy. And then, of course, when you're comfortable, you'd want to do the other side.
We're running out of time here. Can you demonstrate? You brought a couple chairs here that you can do at home.
This one's wonderful, and you'll feel like a real yogi when you do this one because it's probably one of the most popular that you see in films and TV and that sort of thing. It's called Downward Facing Dog. Or Adho Mukha Svanasana in its original name. So Lucy, if you'll put your palms on the chair, or you could choose to hold the outside of the chair. And now walk your feet back and bend your knees. And now reach your sit bones. That's beautiful. That's the base of your pelvis. This is wonderful for your lower back. She's opening up the shoulders, lengthen to the crown of the head a little bit. Now Lucy's very strong and flexible, so she could straighten her legs. For most people, I'd say keep the knees bent because we want lots of space here in the lumbar spine.
Well, I can see where your hamstring muscles are stretching at this point.
Come out and walk forward. So. Keeping the knees bent takes pressure off the hamstrings. Now when they're tight, we tend to want to straighten the legs because it feels good. Right. But when you do that, it actually tugs on your pelvis and it can exacerbate the issue. So gentle's better.
So the key is to do them the right way. You don't want to be doing something
mindfully.
and you want to do symmetrical. You want to you don't want to do just this leg, and you want to do both legs and both.
Unless you're correcting something. So if you have an asymmetry like scoliosis, or for instance, students in the room, I carried 10 books on my shoulder for years. I had one shoulder that was overdeveloped, so I needed to work one side more. So there are some changes, but in general, absolutely, keep it balanced.
So you can be as young as how old to do this?
That's a wonderful question. I'd say if you can breathe, you can do yoga, so I'd say straight from birth. From birth, you'd be keeping those healthy habits. We're trying to unlearn and shed unhealthy habits or just things that need to be balanced out.
You know, I know that there's a weightlifting team, there's a wrestling team. Is there such a thing as a yoga team in the high schools, or is that something
there's
that
definitely been
more progressive communities like in California would maybe have
There's
something?
definitely been group classes in schools. There's definitely yoga clubs. I'm in global groups with yoga studio owners and yoga teachers, and I do a lot online with my own teachers so we can stay in touch. So you could bring it into your life in a lot of different ways.
So you can, and you go ahead and sit back down, and I don't know, we don't want to get Lucy mic'd up again. But you can do as much yoga as you feel necessary, or as little. I mean, it depends on what you want out of it, correct?
It's very individualized, and this is often a shocker for people. The more you advance, the less physical the practice goes. So you're actually using the physical body to help overcome illnesses and injuries and just get more comfort. You're helping to get more comfort as you age. But in addition, we've been mentioning to calm the mind. So traditionally, all of these stretches were used to get you toward meditation. So at that point, I say start with 5 minutes and then work up to an hour and a half, but then you come back to the less physical because you're going to work with meditation and the breath. But that's way down the road.
Let me ask you about if you have an ailment and you're seeing a doctor for it, would it be wise to maybe talk to the doctor and say, what do you think about this, and then maybe find out from you exactly what the doctor says they can and cannot do?
Absolutely. I'd say that that's crucial. And in addition, some physicians don't know that there are different kinds of yoga. So I tell people, if you come to my classes and it just doesn't, you don't like it, or it's not what you need, there are different kinds of yoga. You wouldn't marry the first person you date, most often. Same thing with yoga. There are different kinds of yoga for whatever your needs are. So you want it to fit you. It's very individualized practice. And it will change over time as well, depending on what you need.
Right, and how advanced you want to be.
Thank you.
We're going to take our last break here on Perspective. When we come back, we'll tell you how you can get more information on doing yoga, and we'll do that when we come back. Don't go away. You're watching Perspective on FGC TV.
Each year, there are more than a dozen significant tropical and winter storms that threaten the East Coast. So chances are there will be more hurricanes and blizzards near here again. And between school, sports, and social lives, chances are you won't be with your kids when it happens. Will they know what to do? Ready.gov/kids has all the educational tools and information to make the conversation easy. When the time comes, chances are they'll feel prepared, not scared. So talk with your family today.
Where has the time gone? We've already done 30 minutes of yoga with the founder of Alligator Yoga, Virginia Hill. Thank you for being on the program. How does one get more information? I mean, you could probably stop by your place over there on Duval Street, but there's the address, Suite 101. You actually have a website with alligatoryoga.com. And if you want to just make a phone call, you can get more information, or you can email you. I guess that's all the information you need is right there.
That is, and just know that everyone can do yoga.
Everyone can do yoga, even me.
Absolutely.
Well, again, thank you for being on the program. Thank you for shedding
us.
some light on an exercise program that is for the mind as well as the body. And we hope that you've got some interesting information from this program. And thank you for watching on Perspective. Until next time, I'm Mike McKee. So long.